minutes. Let me see. I guess I need to, can I type a message? You'll need 2 blocks and a blanket.
Can you repeat that?
Yes. Good morning. You'll need 2 blocks and a blanket today. I don't know if we can type that in there. We're learning. Bear with us. And we'll get started in about 5 minutes.
Or maybe just I can move that a little bit, but like I feel like you are just like in the limit of the kind of.
Are you all live and in-person students ready?
Mm-hmm.
Are you all the live students ready?
Yeah.
I'm going to try to project really loud, so sorry if it's overbearing, but so that the mic will pick up and hit my face. Great. Okay, so good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining our first Moment Casual Facebook and Instagram Live and actual literal live class. We have some quarantine pod students behind the camera. So I'll be moving around a little bit today, and then Alex will stay up here in the front of me and help model some of the shapes for you. And we're gonna get started down in Shavasana today, but before you land down, please make sure you have 2 blocks or some nice, sturdy, solid books and a blanket. If you don't have a blanket around that you can use, a pillowcase or some slippery socks will work well too. And then once you have all that, go ahead and come down to Shavasana. And as you land there, you can begin by scanning the length of your body. Really just notice where your body makes contact with your mat, with the earth beneath you. Maybe a silent thank you to yourself for taking the effort to arrive, even though most of us are staying within our own homes or kind of housing complexes right now. It's still, and maybe even more so, such an effort to show up on the mat and to do the practice. And so today we will move through I'm calling the super full pink moon quarantine vinyasa. And this is a full moon in Libra, which is a sign of balance. So it will be a fiery flow, but we're also going to practice balance, seek balance, and so with that it will also be quite grounding, and we'll take time to cool and settle in at the end as well. So if you haven't already, start to bring now your awareness toward the movement of your breath without trying to control it or change it. Just notice how your breath is moving through you this morning. I find it's it can be a little bit like physical state, like emotional state on any given day or moment. It can be just a little bit different. And then we'll start to move through a pranayama practice, Dirga, which is called Dirga pranayama, a 3-part pranayama to really begin to work and expand the chest, expand the lungs, so expand your capacity for drawing in prana. This will be energizing, but also kind of smooth and calming as well. So as you lift into your next breath, visualize lifting your breath first into your belly, and then lift it all the way up into your ribs, and then last stop or last landmark all the way up to your collarbones. And this is going to be without stops or retentions. It's a visualization in your mind. As you exhale or let the breath go, let your breath drop down from your collarbones, then into your ribs, and then way down into your belly. So the inhale moves up, belly, ribs, collarbones, just one smooth, fluid breath. And then exhale down, collarbones to ribs to belly. Take a few more rounds at your own pace. Visualize each of those landmarks as the breath moves through you. Like an ocean tide or the ebb and flow. This is, we're all kind of feeling this pull of the tide, particularly around full moon. We feel this normally, but particularly in this moment in time and in history, there's a big invitation to lean into the shift that you're feeling in your system. So ride the wave of your breath. One more round, belly, ribs, collarbones. And then collarbones, ribs, down to your belly. Now return to natural breath, or for those of you working with Ujjayi in your practice, maybe you want to fire up the Ujjayi breath. You can touch the tip of your tongue to your hard palate, just behind your teeth. Move inhales and exhales through your nose. And hug just your right knee up and into your heart. Just your right knee. Once you draw your right knee in, you can roll some circles with your ankle in one direction and the other. And you can take some movement up into your hip. This is an exploration of mobility, so there's no way that you can do it wrong. You can stop in any spot, you can reverse the direction, you can do kind of infinity shapes or more abstract shapes. Slow wake up for your body. So move in both directions, in all directions. And then take your peace fingers to your big toe, like a half happy baby, an Ardha Ananda Balasana. Drag your knee, your right knee back toward the pocket of your armpit. Like you want to land your knee or the top of your thigh down here. That doesn't mean that has to happen. That's the direction that it's moving in. Yeah, and so the sole of your right foot is open upward to the sky, and you can drag your toes back. If it's more comfortable, you can take the palm of your hand onto the sole of your foot rather than the peace finger bind. And then with your right hand, go ahead and guide your right leg right across midline. So you slide over toward a spinal twist. So right leg goes right across midline, land it down. Then you can release the bind and bring your arms out wide. So you're going to recline spinal twist. This first one's going to be a little bit less active. We have some time later to build a little bit of fire with our twisting. So here, enjoy a nice, more soft and luxurious twist. 2 more breaths. And then get your low belly just a little bit active. We lift up, find Muladhara. Slide all the way back to center and allow your right leg to come back down onto the earth. You can take a little bit of inventory here. Just notice left side body and right side body, anything that might feel a little bit different, just in those simple mobility practices. And as you're ready, with your breath, hug your left knee up and in this time. Opposite side, begin with some movement in your ankle. Rolls with your ankle in one direction. And the other. And you can slow the movement of your ankle down, bring the movement now towards your hip. It might look like a circle, might look a little more wave-like or infinity shape. Give yourself permission to stop in any spot. This is really what this moon is asking of us. It's like sovereignty over your own experience. This is a wild ride that everyone's on right now, and it's giving yourself permission to take that ride in whatever way looks natural or best for you. So stop and pause, continue movement, make sure you're going in both directions, in all directions. And then slide it back towards center. With your left peace fingers this time, bind your big toe. Start to drag your knee toward the pocket of your armpit as if you want to land your upper thigh down onto the mat or tuck your kneecap in your armpit. The sole of your left foot is open upward to the sky. Or you can take the whole palm of your hand onto the sole of your foot as well and drag back. A half happy baby, a couple more breaths. And then with your hand connected either at your big toe or at the sole of your foot, help guide your left leg across midline, all the way down toward a reclined twist. And then once you land your leg there, you can release the bind. Bring your arms out wide like a T. Your gaze might be to the sky or over your right shoulder. Take 2 more breaths. And then go ahead, again, before you shift, get the lowest part of your belly a little bit strong, or lift up Muladhara if you're working with that. Slide back towards center. And then you can rest both legs down long, take a full breath, maybe a cleansing breath. You can sigh, ensure that your jaw is soft. And then draw both of your knees up and in toward your chest. And you'll look for, actually first take a little bit of movement on your low back. We've been lying all the way down onto the earth for a little bit. So a little rocking or rolling or sliding, some circular movement. And then activate your toes. Slide back to center. Activate your toes. Squeeze inner thighs together at the middle, and you're stacking your knees above your hips. So you're going to stack your knees right above your hips, and then sole of your feet presses forward toward the top edge of your mat, like kind of like a 90-degree angle with your lower body. Then bring your arms out wide. I personally like to take my palms down on this one, so we're going to be twisting again, but this one's going to start to develop a little bit more fire. So I like to keep my palms down. It's a little more grounding for me. You can also take this with your palms up. All right. Before you move anywhere, find an active squeeze inward toward midline, and it can be helpful maybe for any of you here or those at home to actually take a block between your upper thighs if you're having trouble accessing that engagement. And then start to rock both of your knees down towards the right side, and they don't have to land. Remember, here we're starting to stoke fire. As you begin to feel your right shoulder floating up and off the earth, that's your check-in point where you stop, and then let your inhale lift you back to center. So it's not going to feel like as lush as the spinal twist we did before. Your exhale now carries both of your knees down toward the left side. As you start to feel your right shoulder begin to peel up, that's your stopping point. Lift back up through center. So you start to take it like a pendulum. Drop both knees toward the right. Inhale to center. Drop both knees toward the left. Tune in with your breath. So as your knees drop low, it's with an exhale, and as you lift back to center, it's with an inhale. Also, just as a check-in, remember there's that inner squeeze of the thighs going on. Take one more round to each side. One more round to the right. And one more round to the left. Nice. And then lift both knees back up to center. If you don't have a block between your upper thighs, go ahead and grab one of your blocks, or a book works for this as well. Book might be a little bit heavier than a block, so just be mindful about that for this next one. With your knees bent, take the block between your feet, squeeze it between the big toe edges, and then extend your legs up to the sky. This is kind of a fun one, but you're also going to feel the burn. I like those the best, like when you're having fun, but it's also accomplishing something. So really slowly start to lower your heels down toward the mat. You're not going to actually touch them there. You're going to bring them down toward a hover, and then bring your arms up and overhead. On your exhale, draw everything up. So all 10 fingers, all 10 toes, reach up, grab the block. Yep, you just make a little swap between feet and hands. And then find active inner squeeze of upper body and lower your heels back down. Reach your arms up overhead. So you have to squeeze actively on the block overhead. And then lift all 10 fingers, all 10 toes right back to center. Nice. I'm so thankful for Alex modeling so I don't have to talk while I'm moving through this. Thank you. Yeah, beautiful. So on your inhale, everything lifts up. Everything lifts up, take a swap. Wherever you have the block, whether between hands or between feet, find a really active squeeze in and onto the block. We're working with an activation of the shoulder joint as well. Take one more breath, nice. And then the next time you lower the block with your feet, go ahead and lower your heels all the way down and set the block down. You can slide it with your feet off to the side. You're not going to need it again for a moment. Okay. Now, reach your arms up and back overhead. Activate your toes. It's a dorsiflexion. Your toes will draw back towards your shins. Yep, back towards your shins. And then you're going to open your palms back toward whatever's behind you, the back edge of your mat. Maybe it's a wall. Here it's a jungle. So like you want to touch the tips of your fingers down onto the mat. And then activate, it's like a reclined handstand. So activate, float or hover your heels just a little bit. Float head, neck, and shoulders and turn your gaze in towards your navel. So this one doesn't look like a whole lot is going on, but if you're practicing at home or those here, hopefully it's kind of like we're turning on the battery of the whole body here. Remember to breathe. Heels are hovering just a little. 3, 2, 1. Release everything down. Release everything down. Nice. Take a breath. Don't get too relaxed. We're going to do 2 more rounds of those. A big full breath. All right, here we go. Round 2. So lift head, neck, and shoulders. The gaze turns in towards your navel. Fingertips are moving toward the back edge of your mat, and your heels are hovering just slightly. So it's like the whole front side of your body finds the on switch. Nice. Yes. 3, 2, 1. Go ahead and land back down. Take a breath. Okay, last round. So go ahead and activate. Drop your fingertips back toward the earth. Palms open to the back edge of your mat. Hover your heels. Squeeze upper arms in toward midline as if you have that block between your wrists, right? And remember to breathe. So I know it's super, super active, but still a nice fluid wave of breath. 2, 1. Go ahead and come all the way down. And then this time, go ahead and take a nice full body stretch. You can reach your fingertips up overhead, point and flex your toes. And then go ahead and hug both of your knees up and into your heart. You can either roll down onto your favorite side and lift up to a seat from there, or if it feels nurturing for your body, for your practice, you can take a couple rolls up and down the whole length of your spine and then come up towards the seat, crisscross at your ankles for Sukhasana. And just get the last couple movements of the spine, and so you can cup your kneecaps if that feels grounding for you. Start to slide your whole trunk around, a couple nice big full fluid circles. If it feels safe for your neck, you can allow your head to fall heavy as you lean toward the front and land back between shoulders slowly as you lean toward the back. And reverse the direction. Another breath or two here to explore. Remember, you always have permission to stop in any spot that's really, really calming to you. And then go ahead and come up toward a neutral seat. You can slide your ribs back above your pelvic bowl. Land your right hand down. So confused on the mirroring with the live. I'm sorry if I'm confusing you. This mirroring on the live is new to me. So right hand, I think I can actually use my right hand. Right hand or right elbow down. Float your left fingertips up and overhead. And then spin your gaze up and under your left elbow. A block can be handy there as well. For anyone going down to the elbow or forearm, this can be a nice prop. So anchor down into your left sit bone as equally as you reach. So there's a movement in both directions. Draw your navel back toward lumbar spine. Take one more breath. And then go ahead and come all the way back to center. If you're working with a walker book, take that to the opposite side. Land down to your palm, left palm or left forearm. Reach your right fingertips up and overhead. Spin your gaze underneath your right elbow, and then remember it's action moving in both directions. So equally as you're reaching with your fingertips, you're also rooting down your right side sit bone. Nice. Find lots of space between each rib. And then all the way back towards center. Okay. Bend into your knees and land onto the soles of your feet, about hips width distance apart. And then land into your palms behind you. There's a lot of different variations you can take as far as the direction that your fingertips point for the most comfort for your wrist. Today, because of the sequence or the vinyasa we'll take, I'm recommending fingertips toward the front edge of the mat. And then have your blocks nearby. I have really long arms, so this is not always the most realistic for every body and form. So the blocks can be handy extensions for your arms as needed. Press into the earth, float your hips, draw your hips up into alignment with your knees, and only if it feels safe for your neck, slowly allow your head to drop back between your shoulders. And a reverse table. And then with your exhale, slide your sits bones down and right back through between your upper arms. This is the part that's not, depending on bone proportions, not super realistic for lots of bodies. So if that feels like you, then you can take this up onto blocks. Inhale, roll to the soles of your feet. By hips, knees, shoulders, into as even as a line as you can find. And then draw your upper arms actively both toward midline, toward your spine. You're gonna feel your triceps fire up. Slide your hips back and hover, activate your toes. One more round, just like that. Slide forward. And slide your sit bones back, hover. And go ahead and release down. Keep both of your legs extended long. Continue to draw your toes back actively. You can land your palms down into the earth. Hover your right heel, just an inch or two. And then notice if there's a tendency to lean your trunk back. You really want to maintain ribs above your pelvis. So if you feel like the top of your thigh is kind of cramping or activating, you're doing it right. That's good. Release down. Cover your left heel. This is going to come in handy. You want to build the muscle memory of how to engage this part of your leg a little bit later on. Now start to take that, alternating. Hover your right heel for a breath or two. Hover your left heel. Right heel. And left heel. One more round each side. All right, go ahead and bend into your knees. Draw both of your feet together in the middle, Muladhara, Konasana. You can draw the heels as close in toward the groin, or it can be a little bit more open, more of a diamond or omega shape if that feels better for you. Open up the big toe mound. Lengthen your spine up and out of your pelvic bowl and lean forward with a lifted heart. Good spot to tune back into your breath since we're slowing it down. A couple more breaths. For this final breath, maybe take your forearms to your upper thighs. You can get a little bit of an extra push there, only if it feels appropriate for your practice and in your hips. And then go ahead and slide up to a tall seat. Draw your knees together. Land to the soles of your feet. Take a little slide or rock from side to side. And the next time you have your knees down on one side, go ahead and sweep your feet all the way around behind. Draw your hips up above your knees and stack arm bones, shoulders, elbows, and wrists. Inhale to lift your collarbones and your gaze. And then exhale, press. This is the important piece. So whole upper body, press down into the mat like you could send your hands shooting through the earth. Round your upper back. Find some space between your shoulder blades. And then inhale again, float your heart forward, lift your collarbones. And exhale, round your back. Avani Gilbert. One more breath. Draw back toward neutral. Tuck your 10 toes under. So with toes tucked under, take a few pulses back onto your heels. Really great for kidney 1 point, where you get the whole energy system awake and alive before we come up towards standing. And then the next time you pulse your hips back, go ahead and invite your heels down into the earth and reach your hips up high. Avani Gilbert. Nice. So you can take this first one with a little bit of movement, bend one knee, bend the other, take a little bit of a hip rock. And then settle in to your down dog in stillness for a breath. Feet land about hips width distance apart, hands about shoulders width distance apart. Now the upper body, what I want you to find, I'm going to ask you to find this activation a lot throughout the practice, is as if you're dragging your thumbs in together toward your butt. As if you're dragging thumbs together toward your butt. So it's an isometric contraction. It's not going to look like a lot's going on, but it's going to fire up some new areas in your down dog. And then lift your gaze forward and swing one leg way out wide from your hip with active toes, little elephant walk forward, and then take one footprint. of a step up. Yeah. Swing your hips way out wide, nice with active toes, and then one step forward and come all the way up to the very top of your mat to a forward fold in Konasana. Once you land to your forward fold, slide up onto your fingertips or some blocks, half lift, Ardha Uttanasana, or your shins are a good option. I'm going to move through the first part of the vinyasa slow with a lot more instructions so you can carry those tools with you throughout the rest of the practice. So as you come to a half lift, a couple things you're going to look for. A lift up of the pelvic floor, a drawback of your navel toward lumbar spine, and length in your neck spine. So crown of your head reaches way out over the top edge of your mat. Keep all of that active and then fold deeper. Fire up the tops of your thighs. Maintain all of that and then reach your wingspan out wide and come all the way up to standing. Utthita Tadasana. Bring your gaze up to your fingertips and breathe your hands together to your heart. Samastiti. Good spot to check in our super pink moon quarantine flow. Time for seeking balance. One of the things I love that I saw about this full moon was considering how your personal self-isolation or quarantine experience is. So for example, here at Cashew Hill, we're in a group, we're in a community, and other folks are completely isolated alone. And so maybe noticing where whatever situation you're in might feel not quite as balanced. Those in community may be struggling with not having alone time. Those who are completely alone may be struggling with finding space for community. So our practice becomes looking for balance and equilibrium within. That's always the practice, right? On the inside. Inhale to take your arms out wide and high. Bring your gaze way up to your fingertips. And then keeping all of that active that we just went over. So navel's drawing back to lumbar, swing all the way forward, find your blocks or the mat. Inhale to roll up to fingertips or your shins, Ardha Uttanasana. And then exhale, ground both palms and step all the way back. Plank pose, Palakasana. Shoulders slide up over your wrists. On this first round, land your knees down, please. And then chest and then chin. Drag your elbows back towards your ribs, sits bones stay afloat, and slide your heart through. Press into the tops of your feet, roll your upper arm bones back. We'll take 3 rounds just like that. Bhujasana, baby cobra. Exhale down. Inhale, roll upper arm bones back. Lift your gaze. And float your heart down. Last one. And down. This time as you float your heart, ride right back onto your knees. Tuck your 10 toes under. Lift your sit bones. Right back to down dog. And breathe. Take your right leg up high, and then bend deep into your right knee, and let your right foot get heavy. So it's like you want to flip your dog over, but keep both of your shoulders and upper arms equally engaged. So you can see Alex is working really hard here to keep her right shoulder working as hard as the left. So you're not dumping all of your weight over to one side. See if you can drop your foot just a little bit heavier so you increase the sensation in the front of your right hip. Yes. And then exhale, draw your gaze forward, step your right foot all the way up through. It might look like a couple steps, so you can help guide it with your hand all the way up through. Land your knee down. If you like a cushion here, you have your blanket, or you can also fold your mat. Untuck your toes at the back. You're on the top of your foot. This is a good one to have both of your blocks or your stacks of books. Make sure they're more or less even. So frame up your front foot and then float your knee at the back, but you still have your toes untucked. Yeah, so it's a little bit of a weird one. We'll have a couple options building on, but it's really important for this one that you feel stable and safe for your knee. So if the choose your own adventure options don't work, stick with this pulsing action. So it'll be a float of your knee and a land. A float of your knee and a land. If that feels pretty safe and stable for you, and you're getting a lot of sensation you might want to build on, perhaps walk up to your thigh. Sustain, find your breath. Perhaps reach 10 fingertips high. Maybe sink your hips a little lower. And then go ahead and exhale. Nice. Land your hands down. Land your knee down behind you. Take both of your blocks to the inside of your right big toe. You can hang out here. You can come down toward your elbows. I recommend if you're exploring that, check first about landing on your blocks. Or perhaps some of you want to come all the way down onto the mat. Another option to build on a different sensation is to tuck your back toes under and float your back knee. You can also take any combination of these options with lower or upper body. So maybe your back knee is floating, but you're resting on your palms rather than your elbows. Take one more breath. Okay. So now, all variations, land your back knee if you have it afloat. Walk up to your palms. We're gonna get a little tangled up. So as always, you can pick and choose how far you go with this and where you stop. So the first option is to take your right hand, like the L, the index finger and thumb of your right hand, and cup your heel behind. Hand is to the inside of your thigh. Yep. It's good having live students because they get to see what's not clear. Very helpful. So cup behind your heel, and you can hold here. You can take little baby chaturangas with your left arm. This is a good morning to your right hip. So maybe you want to hold there. If you feel pretty good with this, maybe float your back knee. Work to drop your shoulder to the inside of your right knee. If you feel pretty good there, maybe float your right fingertips. Maybe float your left fingertips. You have a little airplane going in the upper body. And then if you have both arms afloat or even both hands landed, see if you can activate your front thigh like you're squeezing on your shoulder. So whether you're here or here, activate hamstrings and calf like you want to close that joint. It's like an active squeeze over your upper arm. Yes, yes, yes. And then go ahead and land both hands. Awesome work, everyone. Walk back to the inside of your foot. You can take a little heel-toe step towards center so your right foot's in the middle and you're framing it with both hands. Step your right foot back to meet your left. Let's take a full vinyasa this time. So chaturanga, knees can land or hover. Elbows to your ribs, and then as you inhale, this time land to the tops of your thighs or tops of your feet and lift all the way up. Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Roll back and over your toes. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Take a breath. This is a good spot as well for child's pose. Anytime we come back to down dog is an excellent spot, but also anywhere throughout the practice. Now inhale your left leg nice and high. Bend deep into your left knee. Get your left foot heavy. It's as if you want to flip your whole dog right over. Those in child's pose, join whenever you're able and ready. Check in with what's happening in the upper body. So really active and stable in both joints. There's a little bit of a tendency to dump down into the right shoulder on this side. So get your left shoulder turned on. See if you can let your foot get a little bit heavier. And then inhale your gaze forward. Step your left foot all the way up through between both hands. It can be a couple steps. It can be with your hand guiding. Left foot lands between both hands. Land your knee down at the back. You can cushion it with your mat if you'd like. And then find both of your blocks. All right. So make sure for this first part of the sequence, make sure your toes are untucked. You're resting onto the top of the foot. And it begins with a pulse. So hover your back knee, right knee, and then land. Hover your right knee, and then land. You can stick with this. Doing amazing work here for the hips. Staying right with the pulse. If you feel stable with your back knee and ankle, perhaps walk up to your thigh. Perhaps reach all 10 fingertips high. Maybe you lift toward their pose of sages and you can sink your hips a little bit lower. Remember your breath. And then go ahead and land both hands back down to the block. Land your back knee. Well done. Bring both of your blocks to the inside of your left foot. You can stay here on the palms of your hands on blocks or right to the mat. You can come down to your elbows, to your forearms. Begin here with a little gecko pose. You can also tuck your toes under at the back and hover your back knee. There's lots of different ways you can find the sensation that's just right for you. Build on or slop off. Nice. 2 more breaths. And then go ahead and land your back knee. All variations, land your back knee. Walk up to the palms of your hands. And land on the mat. You can also stay right here with a modified gecko up on your blocks if you'd like. This time with your left hand on the inside of your left thigh, index finger and thumb come first to cup your heel at the back. So this action that I'm talking about, once you get tangled, it's as if you're bending into your front knee, as if you're squeezing calf toward hamstring to clamp onto your shoulder. So you can hang out there and take one-handed chaturangas with your right hand. You can also take this with your back knee floating. If you really want to do one-handed full, knee floating chaturangas. If you feel steady, tuck your toes under, float your knee, and maybe tuck your left shoulder all the way under. You might float your left fingertips. Remember, look for that clamp action. Hamstrings get strong, calf gets strong, as if you want to slide your heel back toward the back edge of the mat. Maybe float both fingertips, both hands high. A little airplane, flying gecko pose. Yes, nice. Draw your pelvic floor up and scoop your navel to your spine. Take one more breath. And then go ahead and land both hands down. Awesome work, everyone. Good. Heel toe step your left foot back towards center. So come to frame your left foot once again. Step your left foot back. Here's where you get to vinyasa, or you can lift right back to down dog. Remember, child's pose is always an option as well. We'll take 5 breaths to either settle into child's pose or root into down dog. Okay, now try to simultaneously land both of your elbows down to the earth. Our quarantine group's been working on this one. If you don't land exactly simultaneously, it's a work in progress, right? And then you can interlace your fingers at the top of the mat. So it's gonna make like a triangle shape. Shishulasana. Lift your gaze forward towards your knuckles. Or some call these dolphin push-ups. So you'll lift your gaze and float your weight forward, maybe towards your knuckles, like you want to give your knuckles a smooch, maybe out beyond, so you can expand out beyond your knuckles, and then lift right up, high and back. Nice, yeah. Slide your weight forward, yes. Nice. And then lift your hips all the way up and down. One more round. and back. Okay, separate your hands. Press your palms back down into the mat. Now see if you can lift up how you went in. Yeah, both elbows at the same time. Right back to down dog, really nice. And then inhale your gaze forward to the top edge of the mat. Walk, lunge, or hop your way up to the tippy top. As you arrive, lift up halfway. Slide your hands to your shins or come to your fingertips. Exhale with an active tummy. This is not a passive fold, so it's really firing. Quads are firing, tummy is firing. Maintain all of that and then reach wide and high. All the way up to the sky. Gaze comes up to your fingertips. Breathe your hands together. Samasthiti. Okay, so let's start working on some of the balance that this full moon asks of us. You can make your right foot base, spread the right toes wide, and take a little bit of a rock around. So you're using your whole foot. And then bring your left foot to the inside of your ankle, your calf, or all the way up to the inside of your thigh. We'll start here, Vrikshasana, a tree pose, and then you'll have some options to build on. I forgot to mention, it's useful to have both of your blocks to the front edge of the mat for this sequence. Before we get too far, make sure you get your 2 blocks at the highest setting at the front of the mat, then you can reset. Okay, so if your heel is up to inner thigh, give a little bit of a roll forward with your left heel. You can settle your hands together, Anjali, at your heart. Or perhaps take your fingertips high. This is one of the most foundational balance poses, but I love it because it's such a test for our balance, but it's also such a rooted and grounded pose. If you feel a little bit wobbly or shaky, you can work on firing up everything we've been working with. So get really fire in your quad, and then really press down through the whole foot. Take one more breath. And then option is maintain tree pose as it is and begin to hinge your weight forward toward a fold. If you prefer, you can take this toward a banyan variation. So tuck your foot into your right hip pocket. And then start to fold your weight forward. Rooted tree, start to hinge forward. Find your blocks. If you feel steady, stay right there. You might walk your blocks back and deepen your fold. Then with your inhale, float your gaze. You're gonna lengthen your arms. Walk your blocks out in front of you. So you're nice and stable, your arm bones are stacked. Untangle your lower body, but keep your left foot afloat. And then extend all the way back. So you're right in a modified Vira 3. So work to bring your heart, your hips, and your heel into one straight line. You can stay in this modified variation, or if you feel steady, if it's safe for your low back, get your abdomen nice and engaged, and maybe pull your hands up to heart center. Now your hands and your heart are afloat. Warrior 3. Yes. Nice. 3, 2, 1. We're going to swing the left foot all the way up through to come to standing. So if you're on blocks, you can keep your hands to block, step both feet forward, and then roll up to standing and reset. Take a pause between sides. Notice any judgment that might be coming up toward the way you are balancing or towards your imbalance. Then wiggle your left toes, spread them wide, and root down into all edges of your left foot. We'll switch sides with the foundation. Okay. So right foot comes to your ankle, calf, or to the inside of your thigh. Let's begin with Vrikshasana, the tree pose. You can rest your hands together at your heart. Find an unmoving point with your eyes. If your drishti might be down to the earth. Or if you're feeling super rooted and steady, maybe your drishti lifts, maybe your fingertips lift. You can even bring your gaze up to the sky. So we have a lot of proprioceptors around the cervical spine, so changing your focal point will really test your balance. Wherever you land, find a smooth, balanced, even breath. And then bring your hands together to your heart. You can keep your foot at thigh, calf, or ankle and begin to hinge forward, or if you'd like, find that banyan variation. Tuck your right foot this time to left heel, and then start to work your way forward. Land your hands down onto your blocks. You can stay here with a nice stack of your arm bones so your heart's a little higher, or you can walk your blocks back and deepen your fold. Move your breath. And then walk your blocks forward. Once again, so your arm bones can stack. Press active down into your blocks, untangle or unhook right foot to your left base leg. Keep your right foot hovering and then extend your right leg back. Toes down to the earth. Supported via 3. Heart, hips, and heel line up. Toes are active down to the earth. You can hang out here or get your tummy really active and drawn back to support your low back. And as you're steady, maybe draw your hands up and in to your heart. Via 3. And go ahead and step all the way forward. Right foot up to meet left. If your hands are to your block, step your right foot there and then roll up towards standing. Hands go to your heart. Okay. One more fiery standing sequence. Inhale, take your arms wide and high. Exhale all the way down. Lift halfway with your breath. Ardha Uttanasana to fingertips, blocks, or shins. And then exhale, Yogi's Choice. Root your knuckles, spread your fingers wide, step back. You can vinyasa. Maybe hold plank for a breath, fire up the belly. Maybe reach hips straight back to down dog. 3 breaths to explore. Okay. Inhale your right leg high. Bring your gaze forward. Step your right foot all the way up through. Keep your left tippy toes tucked under behind you and have a block within reach at the front edge of your mouth. Okay? So your heel is afloat behind, the underside of your knee is active. Inhale all the way up, Ashtachandrasana. So we'll layer on. What I'd like everyone to do is see how deep they can go and still have it be sustainable. So it's a really deep sink into your hips. Make sure your ribs are above your pelvis. And then these are your options. Either activate without the block. It's as if you're making this action, squeezing elbows in toward midline. So squeezing it all in. It's as if you're doing that. You can take it without the block or with the block. So here we have, we have cork blocks, so they're a little heavier, so they add some more fire. We're going to layer on Kapalabhati, fiery breath. So inhale fully and exhale fully. Inhale just about 2/3, and then start short, sharp, active exhales. The inhales are passive. So it sounds like this. Remember to continue to squeeze inward on the block, with or without the block, so everything's firing. Sink a little deeper into your hips. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Awesome. Come back to natural breath. Soften your hips. If you have your block, land it down in front of you. Frame up your front foot. Step back in vinyasa or right back to down dog. And take 3 breaths. Child's pose is also an option here. So between sides, just to cover that Kapalabhati breath, it's a short, sharp, active exhale through the nose. And it's going to be audible, so it sounds like this. And then the inhale is passive. So there's such a forced exhale. The inhale just kind of happens naturally. We're going to take that again on the other side. This one's really fire building, really stimulating for sympathetic nervous system. So it's going to get you really active and charged. All right, inhale your left leg to the sky. Bring your gaze forward, step your left foot all the way up through. Coming to the other side, so your heel stays raised. You're on the tippy toes of your back foot. Make sure your block is going to be within reach, and then raise up. Ashtanga, a crescent warrior, second side. Slide your knee up so it's more or less over your ankle. Deep sink into your hips. Activate under your back knee. And then it's like a squeeze in of your upper arms, either with or without the block overhead. So the whole shoulder girdle is really turned on. Yep. With or without the block. Take a full breath in through both nostrils. A full breath out. And then inhale up just about 2/3 Kapalabhati. Short, sharp, active exhales. Passive inhales. You'll feel a pumping or a turning of the diaphragm. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Awesome. Come back to natural breath. Release all the way down. Set your block to the side. Frame your front foot. Step back. Option 2, vinyasa here. Option to come right to down dog. Option 2, slide toward child's pose. All right, and then all students land your knees down onto the mat. This is a really fun level. I think it's really fun. You can tell me what you think in the comments. So you're gonna need your blanket. And remember, if you don't have a blanket, slidey socks will work, or even a pillowcase. Take the blanket off the back end of your mat. Off the back end of your mat. So I'm gonna make sure, yeah, okay, good. So they can still see you, Alex. I'm gonna do it from this angle. I'm not sure how well you're gonna be able to see that. And then bring your body all the way to the back edge of your mat. Tuck your toes under and reach up toward down dog, and walk your hands back. So you want to have your hands almost to the very back edge of your mat. And then slide on your blanket, slide back toward an upward facing dog. So you have just your palms toward the very back end of your mat, and then untuck your toes. Untuck your toes. Have you figured out where we're going with this yet? Everyone's favorite sock slides, little handstand prep. We're not going to handstand, but it's a really good way to fire up the belly. So you're on the tops of your feet, and the tops of your feet are on the blanket. On your inhale, slide your hips up, slide your hips up, slide your hips up. Woo, as close to the back edge of your mat as you can, and then slide your hips out, back toward downward facing dog. So remember, your toes are untucked behind you. You're on the tops of your feet. Slide up, and then slide back. Yes, good. Let's do 3 more. Slide up. Remember that inner draw of the upper arms that we've been working on? So particularly as your hips come up, yes, and the belly's really fiery, remember to find that inner squeeze of your upper arms. Let's take 1 more. And then thank goodness that one's over. Let's take an upward facing dog. You can rest to the tops of your thighs or the tops of your feet. Lift your heart. And then go ahead and land to your knees, crawl or slither your way back onto the middle of your mat. Draw your sits bones down to one side. Slide your feet toward the front. Extend your right leg long. This is another good spot to have your blocks handy. So have a block at either side of your hips. Coming into our last balance. This is why I say it's a great, it's a fiery class, but it's also deeply rooting. So we'll work today with Eka Pada Bhujasana, which is the elephant trunks pose. And elephant or Ganesha rules the first chakra, so connected to our earth elements. It's very rooting, it's balancing, it's challenging, but it's also very, very earthy and stabilizing for lower body. So right leg extends long. Tuck your left foot to the inside of your right thigh. Inhale your 10 fingers high. We'll begin with Janu Shirshasana. On your exhale, hinge forward. Keep the front side body active and fiery. Collarbones and heart stay lifted. Keep your toes drawn back, right toes drawn back. Janu Shirshasana. On your bent knee, find an active squeeze of calf into thigh and thigh into calf. And then inhale, come all the way back up to a tall seat. Here we go. Okay, so take your bent knee, draw it in toward your heartland, down to the sole of your foot. Leave some space between your knee and your foot, like a nice wide spread out fingers, hand width. Reach your left fingers high, and then drop your trunk. You're gonna take a little swivel so your whole trunk drops to the inside of your left thigh. Yeah. Okay. So again, blocks here are acting as arm extenders for anyone that will find that useful. Take the index and thumb of your left hand. We're gonna take the same steps as we took with the gecko pose, right? So you can hook the back of your heel and work with this pose here. So it's like how much depth and sensation can I create in the hip tissue. There's like a little baby chaturanga element here too. So you can work here. Maybe you thread your left arm underneath your left calf. If you feel like you're there, so far so good, with your right hand, hook your ankle, and you're gonna take your, I know this is, I'm saying it like it's no big thing, but I know it requires a lot of depth to hip flexibility. So up your upper arm. So for some that might be closer to the elbow. If it's possible, the higher your knee can go, the more stable your clamp is going to be. Okay. So then you're going to work on this clamping we've moved through in the practice. Draw your calf back towards your hamstrings, hamstring towards your calf. Hook, hook, hook. Then make sure these toes are active and drawing back, and it's here. Maybe rock forward and back. Okay. Perhaps rock forward, then press into the earth and find float with your sits bones, and then land. You'll notice if this clamp of your bent knee loosens, the whole thing kind of crumbles down. So everything's active here, and it's a draw of your upper arms in. Okay, so that gives you lift. So lean forward and back. Maybe if you find float with your sits bones, perhaps float your front heel. And that's where you get the activation of your the whole top of your thigh and the quadricep that we've been working to fire up. Okay, nice. Eka Pada Bhujasana, the elephant trunks pose. Save a little bit of juice. We have one more side to get to. Go ahead and land down. So you get with the blocks. This helps little arm, go-go gadget arm extenders. For my shorter armed friends, you can float here. Okay. All right, good. Go ahead and release all of that. You can maybe take a little roll of your wrists between sides. And then let's set up Janu Shirshasana, opposite side. So keep your left leg extended long. Tuck your right foot into your left thigh. Keep your heart and collarbones lifted. Lean your way forward. And inhale, slowly come back up to a seat. Hug your right knee back in, land solid to the sole of your right foot. Leave a good amount of space, a big gap between your left knee and right foot. Keep your right fingertips high, and you swivel to come down to the inside of your right knee. Okay? So, index finger and thumb, hook behind your heel. You can work with here. This is amazing preparatory work toward this pose. Even just getting the trunk to the inside of your hip or thigh, taking a couple folds. You can work here. You can continue to thread. Perhaps you come down far enough, you can use your left hand, find your right ankle, lift your foot to find your clamp. So just above the elbow or maybe all the way up onto your shoulder. And then it's active squeeze. Calf into hamstring, hamstring into calf. You can dip forward and back. So if you have that clamp, you already have that clamp. Something like just lifting toward a seat will already float these clamped toes. It's this base leg that can be a little more problematic. So if you are lifted, it's a float and land. If you find that sits bones float, fire up, with everything you got, fire up the left quad. And remember, all of this is happening while there's a draw of your upper arms in towards your heart, in towards your spine. Nice. Elephant trunk pose. Yes. Good. Go ahead and come all the way down. Get out of that pretzel. Nice work, everyone. Wrap your right leg over your left. There's a lot of inner hip steps. We're going to get to the outer hips for a moment. You can pile up your knees, press into your feet, maybe take a wiggle of your sits bones and then settle them back down. If you'd like, you can also stack a block between the knee steps. Hang out here in a tall seat or perhaps lean your weight forward. Muladhara, the lower body. Start to allow your breath to smooth out and slow down, and allow your body to start softening. Probably the active portion of the practice. We're riding. We're like on the down curve of the wave now. Allow it to get soft. Inhale. Lift all the way back towards center. Before we swap sides, wrap your right arm under the left so you can land backs of your hands together, hook at a fingertip or palm to palm, and then press your elbows into one another. Like you want to drag them away to feel a little bit of space being created between your shoulder blades at the back. Go ahead and release that. Untangle your arms, untangle your legs, and swap. Left leg comes to the top this time. Come towards stacking your knees. Press into your feet. A little lift and a wiggle. Remember, you can always prop the block between your knees. You can stay up in a high seat if there's just a whole lot going on for you already, sensation-wise, and stay tall. If you want to build anything on, you might explore folding forward. And your next couple breaths, take a slow rise back up. This time around, you'll wrap your left arm underneath your right. So again, you can join backs of the hands to thumb or fingertip or raise the palms of the hands. And then you're activating as if you're dragging your elbows away from one another. Hopefully, you'll feel a little bit of a space being created between your shoulders at the back. And then go ahead and release that. Untangle arms, untangle legs. Set your feet up about mat's width distance apart, and then roll all the way down onto the earth. We will come back to a seat for pranayama meditation, so you've been warned. Okay, so with your feet nice and wide, touch your knees together onto each other in the middle, constructive rest. You can let your arms rest alongside your ribs or take them out wide. And then go ahead and heel toe step your feet in so that they come a little bit closer, about hips width distance apart. Slide your arms in alongside your ribs and roll your sits bones up, the crest of your hips up. Please find your block or your nice thick book or stack of books. Take the block to the lowest setting underneath your sacrum for a supportive bridge, Setu Bandhasana with the block. We're going to start with the lowest setting because we'll head toward we're going to add a little more depth to the inversion. This is already a beautiful, gentle inversions. If you want to stay here, if this feels very restful and restorative for you, you can stay here. For those that would like, make sure your sacrum is very stable and steady on the block. Begin to draw your knees in. Begin to draw your knees in toward your heart, and then extend the soles of your feet upward to the sky, the Garita Karani. Or legs up the wall pose. Certainly if you're practicing at home and you have proximity to a wall, you can actually take your legs right up the wall as well. We'll breathe here about 30 seconds more. Last 2 breaths. And as you're ready, bend into one knee and then the other. Ease the soles of your feet back down onto the mat. You can float your hips enough to slide the block out from underneath you. And then rest both of your knees down toward the right edge of your mat. So spinal twist, yogi's choice spinal twist. You can crisscross the legs like eagle legs. You can take feet wider, more like twisted roots. In particular, I encourage you to listen into the hip tissue, to the upper thigh muscles, and figure out which one's going to best support what you need, inner or outer. Or maybe it's an even softer, like a more restorative twist that you need. Settle in, take 5 full breaths. On your inhale, get your tummy just a little active so you can raise your knees back towards center. If you're in any sort of bound variation, you can untangle. Set your feet back down to the earth, reset, and then ease your way over to the opposite side. Any expression that's going to best fit your body at this point in the practice. Three more breaths. With a little bit of an active belly. Untangle your lower body. If you're bound, slide all the way back towards center. Hug your knees into your heart. Take a last little bit of movement on your low back if you like, or rock up and down. We'll come up toward a last seat, a place for pranayama meditation before Shavasana. As you come up to a seat, you may want to find one of your blocks, or if you're at home and you prefer a cushion or pillow or a bolster if you have underneath your hips, that's quite nice. So of course, with full moon in Libra, this is the sign of the scales and balance. So we're going to work with Nadi Shodhana, the balancing breath today. With your right hand, you can take your peace fingers and tuck them to the base of your thumb, or if you prefer, peace fingers come to your third eye point. So you can set that mudra, Vishnu mudra, or fingertips at your third eye, but keep both sides, both nostrils open. So have your mudra there and ready, and inhale fully through both nostrils. And exhale fully through both nostrils. Now block your left nostril and inhale just through the right side. As you get to the top of your inhale, block the right side and open your left side to exhale. Inhale through the open left side. Block the left side, open the right, and exhale. Inhale through the open right side. Block the right, open the left, and exhale. So we continue at this pace. It's an exhale through one side, followed by an inhale through the same side. At the very peak of your breath, you swap nostrils and exhale. So exhale right. Inhale right. Exhale left. Inhale left. Right. Right. Left. Left. Continue for several more rounds at your own pace. Nadi Shodhana, the alternate nostril breath, very balancing breath. Activate and make a more thorough weaving together of the Ida and Pingala nadis, or the two primary energy channels, the masculine, the feminine, the solar, the lunar. More gross or manifest with the more subtle. The left and right side of the brain. Balance. The next time you exhale through your right nostril, you can very gently soften out of the mudra and come to a quiet seat, a place for contemplation, or if you're already sinking in, a place for meditation. The gift of this particular moon and being in Libra is to aid all of us in finding equanimity in what can really feel like a tumultuous time or something resembling a collective trauma. How do we find equanimity? How do we find sovereignty over our own experience? How do we find balance and seek solace? And what this moon really asks of us is that adventure and that journey takes place within. So for the final few moments here, you can really turn your awareness and your observation within. Notice what comes up across the sky of your mind, the weather patterns, the clouds. Try not to anchor into those rickies or the waves too much. You are the whole sky, not the pattern that's in it. This is the practice of finding equanimity, of finding balance. You can see the wave, we can observe the wave, we can ride the wave without becoming the wave itself. Because within you is something much greater, the whole ocean. You feel like your practice would be best supported with several more minutes of quiet meditation. You can stay in this seat. Otherwise, if you feel like this will be best integrated, or you will come closer toward remembered wholeness by dropping into a shavasana, then please guide yourself there with the most minimal amount of effort possible. And of course, take any support with you that might most nurture your practice, your body. Start to deepen the movements of your breath. So that as the breath moves through you. It offers this expansiveness and through your ribs and all the way up to your collarbones. Maybe you want to slide into a little bit of the Dirga Pranayama that we started the practice with. Lift your breath from belly to ribs to collarbones and all the way back down. Allow that to enliven you gently. Rock your head slowly from side to side. If you're in seated meditation, you might circle the weight of your head very gently. For those in Shavasana, a little rocker paintbrush at the tip of your nose. Trace the tips of your fingers with your thumb. Wiggle and spread your toes. If you're all the way down to the earth, maybe take a last big full body stretch. And as you're ready, hug your knees into your heart and roll down to your favorite side, land softly. And press all the way up toward a last seat, final seat. We can seal the practice with one another. You can bring your hands together to Anjali Mudra, right side meets left. Sacred gesture of balance, of sacred balance. This is the invitation of the Libra moon to anchor into center. When we feel off center, off balance, may we always cultivate the capacity to come back to the one place where we can really experience wholeness and balance, the present moment. Thank you each for joining the practice today. Have a beautiful day ahead. Namaste. Thank you, lives. Thank you. For those that are still tuned in and that are fans and friends of Om, I'm going to have a special guest appearance here. Sumo dog. I see lots of hearts coming up with the sumo dog viewing. Oh, you want to say hi to everybody? You say hi to everybody? And then I'll give you all what you probably were waiting for, but the light situation didn't work for us. It's a little bit of a cloudy day, but we're gonna give you the cloudy ocean view of the day. Thank you all for joining. Have a beautiful day.